Hello and welcome to the detective game for the Commodore 64. As the screen showcases, it's copyrighted APS software in 1986, and it is a murder mystery kind of thing. McFungus has been murdered, and you, Inspector Snide of Scotland Yard, has been called in to try and look into solving that crime. It quickly turns out that there's a lot more to it, and it is your job to disentangle the mystery and find the killer. The game contains a lot of characters which are being presented at the moment, but they don't really do anything. It feels like it was more an afterthought that the game had to have several characters, because you can speak to them about other people, objects and things like that, and they have precious little to say. So I won't be doing an awful lot of that. What I will say is I have basically many years ago been on the very edge of completing this game, and it wasn't before making this video that I gathered the last clue I was short of. So this is going to be a completion of the detective game. We start off in the mansion, and the butler is going to show us to our room, but we already know where it is, so we will head him off, so to speak, and go to our room. We need one specific object from that room, at least initially. And that is the padded envelopes. If we examine them quickly, they are the evidence envelopes. You must fill all 10 before you solve the murder. So we need to find 10 pieces of evidence, and this is the one thing that actually bit me. Interesting enough, it's at the start of the game. Once I got that sorted, everything else fell into place, because I'd been trying very ham-fistedly to complete this game before. But after Bentley has been showing you to a room, he will head down to his own room. See, Bentley is a bit of a stickler for whatever it's called, for discipline, and he locks his door when he's not in his room. And that is important, because when he is in his room, you can actually get into it. So any guesses where Bentley is going to be going right now? In Bentley's room, we find a jacket, and if we open said jacket, we'll find a love letter and a bunch of keys. The keys are the important part, so we need to get rid of the jacket, because you can only carry 5 items at any given time, which is a bit annoying. This door is locked, and the bunch of keys we got from Bentley's jacket opens the door. You are in the study. Interesting. In the study, we find a paperweight even, and if we inspect that, we will discover it is made of china, which of course is another word for porcelain. The other characters will randomly say things out in thin air, whatnot. It's just flavor, to be honest. But we should probably talk to the professor and ask him about McFungus. A great shame, I had known him since Oxford. Poor fellow had a terrible memory for numbers. Yeah, numbers. Do you know of anything with number on? Yes, we do. And you've been playing the game enough and found every single object in the game, except for the first ones. There's a silver tray, and if you inspect the silver tray, Angus McFungus, born 21st of March 1919. That's a number. Likely that he would remember it if it was imprinted on a present for him. So getting rid of the excess objects and then go over to this cupboard and pick up a hammer. Paperweight was made of porcelain, so if you combine that with a hammer, it's probably not going to be too good for the porcelain. So inside the paperweight, we found a big iron key, but getting rid of the hammer, there's no reason to carry any spare objects around. It is frustrating when you're trying to learn the game that you have the limit of 5 objects you can carry. So, in the drawing room, there's a picture and a classical hiding place, a safe. And that combination wouldn't be the numbers we picked up from the silver trade, would it? Indeed. So, what will we find in the safe? The will. Interesting. So, let us check is that will. We should probably read it instead of looking at it. Briefly, the will leaves donations to various charities and relatives, £10,000 to the cook, the professor, the major, and the church. The rest, which comes to £1 million, is left to Gabriel Gasback. The maid. Apparently, Mr. McFungus had left the maid £1 million. Please notice there's a small E next to the will. That means it's evidence, so that has to go into the padded envelopes. Why would he leave the maid £1 million? Oh well. Heading back upstairs. Pure coincidence. You gotta wonder why the doctor is going into that specific one room. That music will signify that a murder has taken place. Mr. Dingle has been strangled. On his body, at least. And on him, there's a small key and a cravat, whatever it's called, which of course also has a small E next to it. So that's evidence, but let's check it first. Looks like one of the majors. Interesting. Into the padded envelopes it goes. In the drawers, we'll find a briefcase, and of course, there was a small key on Dingle's body, so those two can probably be combined. There's a note, which is marked evidence, so it's probably important. Let's read it. The typed message reads, 10,000 is a small fraction of a million. You never hear from me again. That sounds like a payoff for something intriguing, isn't it? But we will put the small key in the briefcase and put the briefcase in the chest of drawers just to get rid of excess items. The major is a bit, absent-minded, to say the least. So, based on his behavior, it's hard to believe that he would be capable of strangling anyone, but I mean, it's early days. We don't know for sure what's what. But that iron key we found, there's a locked door. I wonder if the iron key is connected to said locked door. It is. Hmm. How lucky. There's a small book. Let's check said small book. After we've dropped off the big iron key. Oh, I was sure I checked it. Okay, it's a book on making wills, by the way. Entering the Major's room, looking in his drawers, we find some blank bullets. And in his bed, we find an elephant gun. Interesting thing to keep in your bed. We haven't picked it up, by the way. Inventory space being prime real estate. You don't want to hang onto items that is of no use. That is of no use, whatever. Rumors will have it that Mr. McFungus has always been a generous donator, so the church even. The professor is his good friend, or was his good friend, and the will we picked up sort of went against that idea. Showing the small book to the professor, that reminds me, Angus once told me something about a book, 101 Detective Stories or something. That's probably a hint. Please note he called him Angus, so that's probably a good indication that they were on very friendly terms. And I can't hit the correct keys. Find the book. Let's try and open said book. A folded document. Interesting. Let's read it. It's a copy of the will. It leaves a large amount to the professor and various charities and 10,000 each to the house staff and the major. That's very, very different from the other document we saw. And this is called a copy of the will, so we have to assume that the will we found in the safe is fake. And this is the right one. Information was given to us by Mr. McFungus's good friend. So that is probably more reasonable to think that the folded document is the true will. So obviously something is not quite right. Just stalling a bit for time. You have to wait for certain things to happen in order for this investigation to progress. And we are basically waiting for a piece of information. You hear a scream followed by a loud crash. I wonder what that was. Probably just a mate that dropped a tray of glasses or something. I don't know. Oops. Piano and a squashed Cynthia sludge bucket. Who is the daughter of the major? If you read the cast of characters that was running at the beginning of the video. Most people who's never played this game has wondered where that piano comes from, because there's none to be found in the game, but let's not be too concerned about that. So C7 did not kill anything, because C herself was killed. So I suppose that's one way of wiping people off the suspect list. In the study, those bullets, we should probably take them. And we should probably replace them with blank bullets, just in case. You never know, it could be smart that those bullets were not live. But once that is done, you have to go upstairs. And check our own bed, because we're tired, we need a good night's rest, but we should probably just dump those bullets. Time for a nap. Oh, there's a bomb in our bed. Interesting. And it's just your average bomb. Apparently someone is not overly keen on us being nosy and trying to investigate a murder. Now actually it's 3 murders. Yeah. But we'll happily run around with the bomb in our pockets. It's perfectly fine. Just don't try to open it. It's not recommended. To quote Batman from the 1960-odd film, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. Well, we heard a very unpleasant gasp from downstairs, so there's probably someone who hit his toe or something. Nothing important. Oh, the doctor. He looks rather dead. He's got holes in his body he's not supposed to have. Intriguing. It's probably worth investigating his room. It's a bit hard for him to prevent us from doing so. So let's go upstairs and see if we can find anything in the good doctor's room. That's the Reverend's room. That's because yeah. When you get to my age, you start forgetting things as well. The Sensei's room, not important. There's the doctor's room. Hooray! And in his drawers we find some cologne and a black bag. It's only the black bag that's important. So let's open it and check it. There's a wad of notes and a small bottle. Intriguing. Let's have a look. What of notes? £2,000? That's a lot of money. Small bottle? It's marked with a skull and crossbones. Probably signifying it's poison. The doctor probably shouldn't have that much money in his drawers, so we'll hold onto that as evidence, despite the fact it has got a small E mark on it. And the same thing goes for the poison bottle. I mean, a deadly substance is just randomly in someone's drawer. That's probably evidence. But, of course, the doctor was stabbed, so let's see if we can find set tool that was used for the stabbing business. If I can find my way. You are in the cook's room. Interesting. And in her bed, we will find a knife. Intriguing. The blade drips blood. How is that possible if it's in the bed? Never mind. Doesn't matter. Noticed, note even that there was a love letter in the butler's jacket, and that love letter was to the cook. The butler and the cook have something going on, and let's go and say hi to Gabriel. She's a bit dead. Yeah. Well, let's see what we can find on her. There's a syringe and a locket. Let's check the syringe. The needle drips a thick, sweet-smelling liquid. Poison. We found a bottle of poison in the doctor's room. But of course, the doctor was dead at that point. Unlikely he killed her. So someone is trying to put down misleading evidence, because we are finding evidence that so far has implicated the major, the cook, the doctor. Yeah. But this is something you only find by either looking it up or ham-fisting every single inch of the game. There's a secret passage, because of course that locket was locked, and we need to find a way to unlock it. And in the cellar we will find a screwdriver. We can probably use the screwdriver to pry open that locket. So let's examine the locket. It contains a wedding photo of Gabriel and Dingle. This is beginning to look a bit suspicious, isn't it? The new will assigned the majority of money to Gabriel, but she's dead now. So she was killed by someone else. So obviously, well, it's fairly obvious that she probably didn't fake that will. Yeah. Too much evidence. We need to work out who the killer is. But before we do that, we should probably, just as a safety precaution, go and get a certain item. It might come in handy. Gabriel was killed with a syringe dripping in liquid, so that was probably implying poison. The doctor had poison in his room. Dingle was supposedly strangulated with an item owned by the Major. But the Major is not likely to have been capable of uh, killing anyone. So that seems to be another red herring. Cynthia even um, got the one piano lesson she would never forget. So she's obviously not a killer either. You know what? That elephant gun, that might come in handy. Yeah, we might, have some sort of need for it. And based on the evidence we found, after checking that the elephant gun is actually loaded, I think we can come to the conclusion. I found that based on the other information, relatively simple. The locket definitely sealed the deal. Just going through the evidence. The locket, of course, contained a wedding picture of Gabriel and Dingle, and Gabriel is now dead, and she was supposed to inherit all the money. It doesn't leave an awful lot of candidates left. The cook and the butler would have no interest in seeing her inheriting all that money. The Reverend has got nothing to do with her, so why would he do it? The Major is in his own world, and the Professor is eccentric. Yeah. The wedding picture was Gabriel and Dingle, so I think it's fair to assume that Dingle isn't entirely dead. So let us accuse Dingle out in thin air. The lights go out. You are led at gunpoint through a dark tunnel. Dingle speaks. Very clever, Snide. I paid the doctor to certify me dead, and then took care of him. Now I just have to take care of you. He pulls the trigger, but nothing happens, and we need to hold him at gunpoint with the elephant gun. Don't shoot, I'll come quietly. Well done, Inspector. You are a credit to the force. Take a promotion. The game is over. That was the epic conclusion of the detective game, and somewhat surprising until, of course, you see the wedding picture in the locket. All the money had been, according to the will in the safe, been given to Gabriel, who had married Dingle and suddenly wound up dead. Interesting. Who would have had any other interest in offering her except for Dingle himself? So the locket definitely made the killer. It was somewhat obvious. Of course, the fact that evidence was thrown left, right, and center trying to implicate everyone um, definitely meant that someone was obviously trying to uh, set up a confusion web in order to get away scot-free. From a graphical point of view, the game, I quite enjoyed the different characters. You can easily identify the different characters and tell who they are, what they are. The backgrounds and the graphics in general is quite stylized, and for a game from 1986 even, definitely doesn't look bad at all. It sets a decent tone for the game itself. The introduction music, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of it, but it is what it is. The sound effects are okay. There's not an awful lot of them, but they serve their purpose. they're not bad. They're not spectacular. They just are. Um, unless sound really makes a huge difference in a game, that's probably going to be my general um, verdict on a lot of sound effects, because more often than not, it's the music defining a game and sound effects. Of course, in the shoot 'em up, you want them to be beefy and that kind of stuff. But controls, though, you control the main character using the joystick, and then you interact with objects by clicking the fire button. That will set up menus for opening doors, opening items, checking inventory, and all sorts of things. And when you move the pointer with the joystick, there's acceleration on the pointer, which means that it can be extremely wonky. Because if you don't hold the joystick long enough, the pointer's not moving, and if you hold it for a quarter of a second too long, it seems to fly all over the place, which is rather obnoxious. All in all, I think the game is of a good enough quality to serve a slot on a long form video theme day like World on Wednesday. And of course, I've been covering a lot of Amiga games recently, so I felt that I wanted to plug in a Commodore 64 game. And at that, a Commodore 64 game that I know a lot of my friends and certain family members were struggling to complete. Following Bentley and getting his jacket to get the keys to the study, and finding the bullets and replacing them with blanks is basically the clincher. If you're not aware of that, once you accuse Dingle, he will take you down to the basement, as you saw in the end of the game, and shoot you. I should also mention, by the way, if you're not quick enough with using the elephant gun, he will, if he gets to the doorway, he's gone, and you fail the case at the very last second. As I said at the start, I think the character development is, the characters feel like they were put in to have some sort of potential suspects, because they don't really add much to the game. They don't offer much in description of items or people or anything. It definitely feels like an afterthought more than anything else. But overall, the mystery itself is somewhat clever, somewhat illogical when you get the keys from Bentley. Outside of that, I don't think there's much more else to say. I enjoyed the game for what it was, but I can't see myself necessarily playing it again. Now I know the mystery. So, on that note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.